This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And I want to start off first by saying that some people were giving me crap about my intro in the comments. They were like, oh, that's how you start your podcast? Oh, that's your intro?
Farting and burping and stuff
Yeah,
like that?
it was that one. It
It
was literally 40 seconds of us choking around.
It was could you imagine if every podcast started like that? Of Dave ripping ass and me farting over here?
I burped, you ripped ass.
No, you did the can opener then,
Did
too.
I?
Yeah, watch the end of it. I left it in there.
I watched it.
I did not see that.
Yeah.
I clicked
You
on the
didn't saw
video.
the beginning?
No, I clicked on the video and it started off with just me. I didn't get the whole...
Yeah, that's
No,
the whole...
the first 40 seconds.
Because
Yeah.
you started it, Dave was like, I think I burped, and then I farted, and you're like, oh, it got picked up. Oh, I'm going to isolate it.
Oh,
And it did. You could hear it.
well...
It was, we're real
You can hear
classy.
Dave's, too.
Well, I'm glad that that's the intro to this very extremely serious topic that we're talking about.
I guess-
First off,
Yep.
we're going to first talk about the Daryl Morey situation. Daryl Morey, if you do not know, tweeted out a picture on Twitter, I think it was last Friday, where he said it was 6 words. I think it was fight for freedom and then free Hong Kong. And that was immediately met with a storm of, envy, a storm of hate, a storm of, kind of just like, what the hell are you doing? And then it led to a bigger story where China is now threatening to pull NBA basketball off of its, broadcasting services, trying to, end the relationship with the NBA right now. Adam Silver's currently over in China, mainly because the Lakers and Nets were supposed to be having games in China right now, but also to now amend the situation that's going on. But China is not happy with the NBA right now, mainly just because of the Daryl Morey tweets. And even to that extent, the Rockets aren't happy with Daryl Morey as well, because one of the most storied players in their franchise, Yao Ming, former number 1 overall draft pick, is also the current president of the Chinese basketball. I think it's conference or association. I think it's CBA, the Chinese Basketball Association, and he is now threatened to. I think he has actually ended the relationship between the Rockets and the CBA. So, not a good sign for Daryl Morey at all. And what I want to start off with first is, I think what people have been doing so far have been saying it's a very at least a controversial situation and a very tough situation. There's a lot of layers to this situation. And I'm going to agree with those people in the sense that it's very, difficult for the NBA to deal with.
Yeah.
It's very tough for Adam Silver to be in this position because he is in charge of $1 billion corporation in the NBA, and he's dealing with a very powerful country in China, and he's dealing with a very sensitive subject right now with the I think it's Uyghurs in Hong Kong that are fighting for their freedom and fighting against an oppressive government right now against China, and they're trying to free themselves to get democratic control in their country. And at least as an American, and at least as a a person who is living in America right now, a person who's living with freedom of speech and the Bill of Rights that we established when we became a country, it's not that hard for me. It's not a difficult situation for me. I 100% side with Daryl Morey, and it's very easy for me to say that. Right now, I think that China is 100% overreacting. I think that China is being extremely, extremely harsh to the people of Hong Kong. And yes, Adam Silver is in a very difficult place right now because he's trying to deal with his corporation, not lose his corporation money. And that I understand. But I can sit here and say, proudly as an American, that China is in the wrong here and that they're overreacting.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm glad this is the first time that Sean and I think on this podcast strongly agree, because my first thought here was basically to go extra vulgar about it. Fuck China. Like, that's the thing.
I don't know about that.
The thing that I thought of right away.
I do not strongly agree with that.
Because the thing that I think of is, and the thing with me is I've also been totally involved with all the news that's been going on in the gaming side too, because you've got this in the NBA, then you also have what's going on with Blizzard and their whole involvement with banning a Twitch streamer that did Hearthstone, and now they're getting backlash from the whole not China itself, but people about embracing China and stuff like that. But the thing I think of is, yes, Adam Silver is between a rock and a hard place, because business and economics, China, the NBA is adored over there, and that's where they get most of their numbers. But at the same time, it's that fine line of what are you going to ride with? You cannot ride on the line with this. Which side are you going to pick? Is it about the money, or is it about standing up for your beliefs and your morals, which I know which way they're going to lean. It's always the money. But at the same time, I kind of was like, when his thoughts were like, what Daryl Morey said, basically it was, he has the right to say what he said.
Yeah, their first response was
we're going to work with China.
Their second one was better.
But it's like, I sit there and go, yeah, it's better than what's going on in the nerd culture right now, because Blizzard's is a lot worse. But, like, there's a part of it that's like, come on, Adam, like, hit them in their wallets, where it's like they are overreacting. Like, this is something about human rights, and taking that away, and these people fighting for democracy. And it's like, we're sitting there going, well, we don't want to lose money. And I get it's different in this case because you might lose fans as well.
Dave, I'll go to you next. I just want to clarify. Ricky does not speak for all of the fast break in Fuck China.
Yeah, I speak for me.
I just want to clarify, Ricky. I understand. He doesn't speak for all of us for Fuck China. Also, we have been banned now in China after those comments. Yeah. I just want to say, like, I agree with you that, China, I think, is overreacting here 100%. I don't want to say fuck China, though, because that's a country of 3 billion people. So saying fuck China means fuck all 3 billion of those people.
Let me clarify.
I disagree with it.
Let me clarify. It's their government, not the people.
Okay.
The government.
I disagree with the Chinese government is doing here 100%. I think that, I obviously believe in freedom of speech as much as that is obnoxious in the YouTube comments. I do think that, though, going fuck China is a little bit too much because there are definitely
but I'll leave it at that.
There is definitely some people that are even in China right now that probably aren't outwardly able to support their support for Hong Kong, but there probably are people in China that do support Hong Kong and that are on the side of freedom and democracy. And even then, I don't know everyone in China, so I can't say that everyone in China is bad, but at least the Chinese government, I do disagree with what they're doing. But Dave, you want to jump into this pool of hashtag off the court stuff?
Off the court's not really my deal, if you guys know me. I'm more of a hashtag on the court kind of guy. But if I must, I think it's an interesting case because we've been watching outside of basketball. Ricky brings up nerd culture, but just business in general. Like, the U.S. and China have been basically in this trade war for about a year unofficially, going back and forth with recently sanctions upon sanctions back and forth. And it's just like, great, we don't have a great business relationship, but this is the country that produces so much of everything we use in our day-to-day lives, and we import constantly, we export a lot of our goods there as well. So it turns into it's an interesting situation of they need us, but we need them more. And I think that's sort of where they're flexing their muscle, because at the end of the day, they can just go back and be like, yeah, no, we're always going to pull out a gun on you. Like, you say something stupid, my first reaction's like, oh, you're going to do that? Well, if you don't fix this problem for me right now and take it back, I'm going to kill you. Like, that's their reaction to other countries, other statements, anything that goes anti what they believe in. And they're a heavily nationalist country as far as, like, they believe in the country, they believe in the system. It's very interesting to see how
nationalist, right? Or nationalism.
So that's just a weird point of, like, it started off there and now it's dripping into other facets of culture, and nerd culture is one thing, basketball is another, and it's just going to I feel like it's just going to continue to sink down and affect more people's lives. But it's an interesting thing because Hong Kong, like, everything's been as peaceful as possible in those riots. Not 100%. There's obviously been a lot of...
Well, yeah, you use the word riot, and it's immediately not peaceful.
Protests. Protests.
No, but even protests as well. Protest still isn't implying something peaceful, but you're right.
Right. It's been as peaceful as possible. I know there's been a lot of shady shit going on around people who've been taken into police custody and everything along those lines. But I think that's going to hit a boiling point at some point, and that's the only way anything's ever going to happen. And I don't know what's going to happen at that point. But the whole NBA thing, like, honestly, this for the NBA is, if we shut our mouths, we keep our money. And I feel like it's a no-brainer for them. If they don't say anything else for the rest of this year, they will continue to collect paychecks and be happy.
And that's the difficult thing that I think Adam Silver is finding himself, because I think outside of, in the big four of sports, you can make the argument that I think clearly the least involved in international outside, at least the one that's most ingrained in American culture and thrives off of Americans alone. I think that is the NFL. There's not too much, outside the U.S. viewers, and they do have involvement in Europe as well. And there's definitely players that have come along from different countries as well. And there's definitely fans outside of America in those countries. I don't want to say that, but I think at least the lowest amount of viewership from outside of the America would be NFL. And you can obviously make an argument as well for the NHL, because that is a very international league where a ton of players are coming from Europe, a ton of players are coming from Canada, a ton of players are coming from Russia as well. So that's a very international sport as well. Major League Baseball has done a ton with Japan series out there. They've done some Cuba. Europe series now,
South America
stuff as well.
Central America are huge.
They're huge in down south as well. They're very international, but I think at least the biggest international brand when it comes to sports is the NBA. You have major superstars in Yao Ming, Dirk Nowitzki. They're all over, and they've had some of the best players in the history of this game be international stars. Hakeem Olajuwon as well, being from Africa as well, being born there. They have hit pretty much every single continent and found superstars. You look at Australia as well; they've been a big player in supporting the NBA with players as well. And I think at least the one that's most ingrained in Chinese culture, this country that has 3 billion people, is the NBA, the second largest, or the largest nation, at least I think. Right? I think they're the largest nation, at least
by what
population-wise.
terms?
Population-wise,
I want to say I don't know the answer to that.
India might.
Yeah, so it's a toss-up.
Okay, but
Google
one of the largest, at least population-wise, and then also at least money-wise, they are one of the largest, and they are fully ingrained in basketball culture, and you see that in what the reason why Derrick Rose still has a shoe contract with Adidas is because of Chinese influence, and they absolutely love D Rose over there. So I think he's in a very difficult spot where he is either choosing to alienate international money that could absolutely kill his sport, or he's going to alienate possibly a ton of American money as well by choosing, the other people, the communists, because they are a communist country in China. He might kill his support stateside. So he is in an extremely difficult situation. And to trickle down to that, the players are as well. Let's just look at LeBron James. LeBron James can't say anything right now because he's currently in China. Maybe LeBron will say something when he comes stateside, but even then, this isn't his fight, and this shouldn't be his fight. So I can't imagine what the players are in right now. I can't imagine what Adam Silver's dealing with right now. I can't imagine how Daryl Morey feels right now, because he does believe in that take. He didn't apologize for that take. He's just sorry that he tweeted it out. But he's sorry that he put the league in this situation.
I mean, you're sorry for that, but I'm going to tell Daryl right now, because he listens to the podcast. We know it. Don't be sorry for it, because freedom of speech.
But of course, but it's a difficult situation.
It doesn't mean you have to put them out there publicly under a microscope, and the impact of other people hearing that from you has impact widespread.
I mean, could you imagine putting your company in this situation? It's not an easy spot for Daryl Morey to be in, whether you agree with this take or not.
And that's the fine line of if I was him, would I have done it on a whim? Not unless there was a reason I was doing it. Mm-hmm. But what's done is done. It's happened. You can't change it. Don't be sorry that you did it, because like you said, it's a take he believes in. And the thing that I think of, there's so much that we're unpacking that, Sean has said stuff I've wanted to talk about. Dave has. I want to go back to kind of what Dave was talking about with China. And the best way out of all the podcasts I've listened to about this, and of course the Blizzard stuff too, was Gary Whitta, who he's huge in the nerd community, does movies, kind of funny podcast. He said that it's kind of the only reason that American companies can't just cut ties with China is because of, like Dave said, they can flex a little bit. They're a big importer for our plastic alone, a big importer for all of our goods. Number two, there's the nuclear side of it, to where if they weren't as big as they are, we would treat them like how Gary Whitta said is we would treat them like North Korea. Go play in your corner of the world. We're not going to deal with you. But because they can flex their muscle, we can't do that with China. And that's what creates this kind of hard situation. And then, Sean, what you mentioned about LeBron, when I was watching Around the Horn, the day Silver made his first comments, every single panelist was take the players out of China. Why are we playing this preseason game? And I'm sitting there and I'm kind of thinking like, I know you want to play it because you kind of want to be like, no, if we pull out, that's going to make things worse. But at the same time, I'm sitting there going, it can't be good to have our players there in case something, like nothing bad has happened, thank God. But like at the time, it was like, well, something could happen. Like we're putting our players in danger by being there while this is going on.
Do you really think there's danger that could, like physical danger that could befall NBA players?
They were talking about fans and stuff covering their faces going into the hotel.
Yeah, they were shamed, but no one was getting attacked. I don't think the Chinese were going to be violent towards the NBA players because the NBA players didn't do anything.
Exactly.
I disagree with that take, and I definitely want to get as far away as U.S.-Chinese nuclear relations as we possibly can because, God, is that so off the court it doesn't even matter. Yeah. Let's get to the actual NBA stuff. And I think at least with the whole player stuff, are you expecting anyone to speak out? Because one thing that we did see today was a CNN reporter try to ask James Harden and Russell Westbrook a question about the ongoing situation today. I want to get her name right. It's a reporter from CNN, Christina McFarland. She asked pretty much, where's the question? I'm sorry. Now they won't give me the question. I had it, and now I can't find it. Basically, she was trying to get a question, and the team executive would not even allow her to ask the question. Yep. And then she tried to plead with James Harden and Russell Westbrook, and James Harden just kind of sitting like this.
Yeah.
Like, just super awkward. So Christina McFarland tried to answer a question, and the Rockets absolutely shot it down, did not allow them to answer the question. And I think they're obviously protecting the players here. But if they don't...
So the reporter, it was CNN. They don't give the name here on ESPN.
Christina McFarland.
They say a reporter from CNN asked Harden and Westbrook if they would feel differently about speaking out about issues because of recent events. And that's all they basically said about it.
Okay, yeah.
Basically, they shut it down.
I wanted to get her quote exactly, but yeah, it was pretty much, she asked that question and then she argued a little bit with media relationship, and Russ and James didn't answer. Obviously, I think the media relations is trying to do that to keep the players from saying anything while they're currently, overseas. They're currently in Tokyo right now. I think the biggest thing, though, is like, what do you think is going to happen when these players come over stateside? And guys like LeBron James and people who play for the Houston Rockets organization under Daryl Morey and have that connection with Yao Ming and China. Do you expect these guys to say anything at all about what's currently going on?
I don't expect it, but I want somebody to, like, it's not like I want the pot to be stirred up, but it's like, it's one of those things where when I talked about that line earlier, I understand the business side. I understand I would be terrible in this situation because I am a guy that wears my emotions on my sleeve, to where I hope there's somebody. I'm not saying it has to be somebody from the Rockets. Maybe like LeBron would be good. Somebody off the Rockets would be good, where I hope somebody takes a stand and is like, this is not right. I am going to speak my mind, because how many times in just the past few years have we seen the players take a stand on social issues and then shit kind of gets done, where it's like, if enough players kind of speak up about it, maybe then the league goes, hey, you know what we're doing is not right, and we shouldn't think about keeping our investments in order. We should fight for the morality instead.
What I think is the issue there is, one, I don't know if guys are going to speak out, because it's not really their fight. I don't know how many of these guys, before Daryl Morey tweeted that out, had takes about what's currently ongoing in Hong Kong. Daryl Morey, I think, made this a talking point in a lot of places because he tweeted this out.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 100% honest. I was completely ignorant to the situation before Daryl Morey tweeted it out. I learned about what's currently going on because of Daryl Morey tweeting this out. I was made aware of what's going on out there because I'm not really in tune that much to outside of U.S. news, barely even U.S. news.
Like,
I'm mainly focusing on sports 24/7.
But I didn't know every specific about it.
I didn't know jack shit, and Daryl Morey gave me that idea. And these guys are professional athletes that have brand deals and have interest inside U.S. news and have just normal family lives and have to play basketball. So I don't know how many of these guys have takes about Hong Kong. So I do think that one of these, a lot of these guys aren't going to say anything about it, mainly because they just don't have any ideas about it, because they don't really care that much about it. And that's not to bash them or anything like that, but it's tough to be in tune with every single thing that's going on And you can have an idea, and maybe they'll say something that is pretty just cookie cutter, like, hey, I believe in American ideals or something like that. But even then, I'd be shocked because if LeBron says anything, he's putting then Nike into contention with China because they're obviously making a ton of shoes in China right now. And what if Nike and China's relationships get screwed up? He can screw up the NBA. He could screw up whatever movie deal he's currently linked to, any studio that he's currently linked to. He can screw up Nike right now. So I can't imagine what these players are currently going through. And I really doubt that any of them are going to say anything. And they'd be shocked if someone did because they are in such a tough spot that this isn't their fight because, the guys that were standing up with the I Can't Breathe shirts, like D Rose was and like LeBron was, and definitely, a ton of different other situations. I think even the Cap stuff got into where it was about police brutality, right? That's something they care about because that's affecting their community. Yep. That's black athletes speaking up about athletes that are affecting the black community. I don't know how this has been affecting black players, and especially just NBA players in general. Like, I don't know if Ben Simmons is going to have a take at all. I don't know what Chinese players are currently in the NBA right now, and I don't know if any of them are going to speak out because that is their home country. The only one that I can think of that has been speaking out about politics back home that aren't Americans speaking out about police brutality or Trump, their distaste for Trump pretty much being LeBron calling him a clown, would be the current situation between Enes Kanter and Turkey, where he's speaking out largely against their current president, I believe, or prime minister, and he is just going after them about the situation that he's currently in with his whole family situation over there. So I don't know if these guys are going to be speaking out, mainly just because I don't know how much it interests them and how much it really affects them. And it sucks for them to be put in that spot because it's not really their battle to care that much about. It's U.S.-China relationships, and NBA players aren't really looked to deal with these situations. And the only guy that I think I would trust ever on this is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because he's like the smartest dude in the world.
Yeah, the thing that I can't help but think about is you can't say that the NBA is a global brand, but then say that the players I get that some of them are probably like I'm talking about the lower ones are like, hey, my personal brand's not that big. Like, I'm not, but like a guy like LeBron, I'm sure since his brand is as big as it is, like even a guy like if Kobe was still in the league, hell, Kobe even out of the league, like he's got so much business going in China that these guys know what's going on, and these guys kind of keep a little bit, or they have somebody who
I think they obviously know that
their finger on the pulse.
They obviously know that China is a communist country, but I don't know how in tune they are with Hong Kong protests right now. I truly do not know their level. I'm not bashing you if they do know about it. I'm not bashing you if they don't know about it.
I'm just saying
not putting the idea that that's out there right now.
Saying, if they've got business over there, I'm assuming they don't know they're not like how you were, where they know some of like what's going on and how it's affecting China's ecosystem.
Maybe they do, but I don't think it was largely hurting China in general when it came to the money that they are taking in from American companies. And largely, LeBron is dealing with mainly U.S.-based companies. I don't know if he's dealing with any Chinese companies right now. He's dealing with global brands, but I think Nike, based out of Oregon, NBA, obviously based out of the United States. A lot of these brands, I think he's with Gatorade too, right? They're based out of Florida. A lot of the brands that he's dealing with are American brands still. So I don't know his how in touch he is currently with the geopolitical situation in China. Also, what does geopolitical mean? I just know it's a word. It makes me sound smart, but I just said it. I'm not going to act like I know much about this.
Isn't geopolitical just like the world politics
of the world?
Yeah, it's off the court stuff. I don't need to know about it.
It's
right?
hashtag off the court.
Yeah,
but that's the thing is like I don't know if I expect these guys to say anything. Do you, Dave?
No, I'm in the same boat.
Even when they're back stateside is the
Yeah, I don't foresee that a lot being spoken out. And you're right. In the past when they have spoken out, it was about stuff that hit close to home that they could relate to that affected their own communities. It was very much it was just close to home. With everything going on in China, there's not really a whole lot of positive impact that I think that they have. Like the positives outweigh the the negatives outweigh the positives in this situation when they come and speak out, because like Sean said, all their sponsorship deals are up for grabs, even though if they're dealing with mostly US stuff, it could be global brands. I know the salary cap, they were talking about projections for that dropping for the first time in a long time because of the expected cash flow stoppage from China. So that means contracts go down, which means they get less money, they have less earnings. So there's a lot of ripple repercussions that will come if they do decide to make a stake and do that. I think the big thing here is best case outcome. If they do speak out about this, what can you hope to achieve? I mean, is it a situation where it's just we're bringing more awareness? And at that point, I'm going, if you had to find out from the NBA that there's just travesties being, done in China and Hong Kong, then I don't know how interested or how much you're going to do to help that. I think a lot of the people who understand what's going on are very aware of it. And I don't know that, bringing more people in America awareness of this is going to change a whole lot. I mean, I feel it's cynical, but it's like Coney 2012. Yeah, that was a great.
It's totally different.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's the hot topic for a while in America, but there's so much going on. We still have internment camps in the southern U.S. for people who've come over the border illegally. That's still a problem. People didn't stop magically, doing that.
Yeah.
And we've got so much going on in U.S. politics where there is an impact that they can directly have on people who can vote and change the future of America, where I almost feel like that's where these superstars, these athletes who are household names, can really show their impact. In international cases where they don't have, a whole lot where they can directly impact the everyday life of people in Hong Kong, I don't know if the worth is there.
Even to that, just real quick, and I'll get to you as soon as possible. Just with the national stuff, even they can have an impact, but we don't even know to what measure. And for certain things, 100%. But we've been still talking about the same loop for Kaepernick over and over again. It's like, oh well, Kaepernick disgraced veterans, and then people will be like, oh, but a veteran told them to do this. That's the same talking point that we've been talking about since 2016. We're not off of that stuff. It's been 3 years ago. There's no progress in that whole movement, and maybe they're
being lowballed by the league.
No, but I'm just saying in general, because I just saw that when Adam Schefter put out all the talking points about from Kaepernick's agent about what's been going on with him. I just saw that discussion. That's the same thing.
Yeah.
People still have the same mindset that they did in 2016. So I don't know what type of impact these players even have when it comes to what they're doing when it comes to national politics. And that's not to bash them or anything like that. I just don't know how truly effective it is. And even to come with that, you see how many celebrities are backing up, left-wing presidential candidates. Mainly, like Taylor Swift was backing a candidate in Tennessee, and her candidate lost. I don't know how much these celebrities and these athletes can truly swing the American public. And just with that, if they can't swing the American public where they're probably effective most because they're influencing the media most, then I don't know how much they can affect national conflict right now. International conflict.
I think you're missing the point here, where the point of it isn't to, if I'm, let's say, LeBron James, if I'm, let's say, Kobe Bryant, I'm talking about the big guys. My speaking out isn't to get the American people, the American fan base riled up to make a difference in Hong Kong. Because you're right, you can't. There's nothing that we can do to change it. But what it can do by players speaking up, the thing that, and this is the tricky situation, because like Dave says, if China cuts off the ties, they lose money, their contracts go down. But at the same time, it's where do you stand? Are you on the business side? Are you on the just what's morally right side? And if they're on that morally right side, it's kind of like what's going on with Blizzard right now, where the big thing of, if you're unfamiliar on that side, there was a Hearthstone Twitch streamer who on his Twitch stream backed he was showing support for Hong Kong, and Blizzard said, we're taking all your earnings that you did in our contest, we're suspending your, basically kicking them out. And
they also got rid of both casters.
And they got rid of both casters who didn't
event.
even know what was going on. Apparently, I heard they just put their heads down when he was talking about it and didn't even know what was going on. Yep. And the backlash that they've had, there's people who have played their games that are canceling Overwatch, canceling WoW subscriptions, boycotting Blizzard. There's employees who walked out of Blizzard. They even they have a statue in the middle of their campus. And under two of them that are Think Globally, and I can't remember the other one off the top of my head, but the one was Think Globally. They covered it up with paper, kind of to show that, you're not thinking this way. And if NBA players are going to speak out, that's going to be the message, is if they don't agree with what Adam Silver and the NBA and how they're handling this, that's why they're going to speak out. Not to change what's going on with China and Hong Kong to affect how the NBA is going to handle this moving forward, because that's the only way to push Adam Silver's hand and the owner's hand, because Adam Silver is going to do what's best for the owners. That's where the players, if they don't agree with it, that's where they have to speak up. And then that's what pushes his hand.
The difference with that, though, is Blizzard is a smaller company than the NBA.
No, I know.
The NBA but that's why it's more effective for Blizzard, because Blizzard is a smaller company. There's less of a financial impact on their investors because there's less money involved in there. Last year, Blizzard made $7.5 billion, right? That's pretty much 3 NBA teams right there. What we've seen, the lowest NBA team go for, I think, is $2 million. The last team that we saw go up, which I think is the Clippers. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You are.
I am wrong?
You are correct.
Oh, was Nets didn't Prokhorov just sell? Anyways,
shit, yeah.
I think the lowest is $2 billion. So 2 times 30, that's $60 billion.
It's a lower scale,
alone.
but most of their, they have a huge.
Yeah,
no,
Nets
but I'm not
disagreeing. $2.35 billion.
Yeah, $2.35 billion.
Just
So,
this past
and I'm not
August.
disagreeing with you that Blizzard isn't involved with China, 100%. But it's a larger scale, and I truly don't know that if the players speak up, it's going to be as beneficial and influential as it is as Blizzard speaking up, because it's completely different. Because I don't think the Chinese government is getting that upset at Blizzard. It's Blizzard trying to protect Blizzard's ass so Blizzard doesn't fall, and they screwed up royally. Now the NBA is trying to make sure that their relationship doesn't fall so that their company doesn't crumble. China is speaking out on the NBA. I personally don't know enough about the situation, but I don't think China is speaking out against Blizzard right now.
No, it's the employees speaking out against what Blizzard did. Where in this case, it's the only way the players are going to speak out is because you're Adam Silver, you've got to deal with China because, what everything they've decided to do, because you're kind of trying to mend those fences. Well, if I'm a player and I'm watching what's going on and I don't agree with what Adam Silver's doing, that's the only case I see a player speaking out to try to push the hand of hey, we don't agree with this. Well, you need to do this, because it's going to be a tricky situation in my mind if Adam Silver tries to basically, I don't want to use the word coddle, but basically if he leans too far over to dampen the fire in China, it could rub players the wrong way, and that's where they're going to speak out.
I agree with you there, and I think the first thing that he put out and the first thing that the NBA put out was wrong. I don't think it was a good take. But then now when he came out the second time and being no, we're going to support the free speech that our country provides. I think that was a better move. And I think right now he's probably in a decent standing with the NBA players. The last person I want to be in America right now is Adam Silver. This guy is in a bad spot. So the fact that they screwed up once,
Trump.
But here's the thing, if that dude gets impeached, he's still gonna be fine. Adam Silver might get blacklisted from every single job. I don't know what
Adam Silver's a made man.
But I think less than Trump, though. Because now Trump, even if Trump gets impeached, that dude's probably going to be able to turn it into some money, just speaking engagements. I mean, look what every president's able to do after they're out of office to make money. So I mean, and that guy has TV experience. That guy's going to get paid somewhere. Where Silver, if you ruin this company, you might be screwed, because he was probably the highest viewed commissioner right now. I still hold him as that. This is a shitstorm. Yep. But if he goes from being the most beloved to being the guy that was in charge of when the NBA took a downfall, that's gonna royally fuck you, man. So I the last person I want to be in America right now is probably Adam Silver. There's probably some other people that are more extreme, but I just don't know them, and I'm ignorant. But at least very pop culture names. Adam Silver's the last person I want to be in America right now.
Do you expect this to impact the 2020 Olympic Games?
I don't even know how it's going to affect the 2019 NBA season.
That's the two things. I was even thinking about that of A, how long does this last, and B, if it lasts that long,
is the 2020 Olympics in China?
Tokyo. It's close enough. Oh. It's right in the same part of the world. I know Japan Japan is different, but like
I don't think it's going to be that.
Could it
much of
affect
an
it
influence.
all? Like if this goes into like
No,
that
because
far.
because again, like with the Olympics, like the NBA is not involved. NBA players are involved, but if NBA players are speaking out, then that's where they might put themselves in tricky spots.
But then that turns into a national thing, because if that player's from the U.S., one thing, but what if that person's from another country where China disagrees with or whatever,
I think I don't think it's going to have that much of an impact. We see the participation between NBA players in national or international events like that is declining anyway. So I don't really know if it's going to be that big of a factor. I don't think they're going to feel like they're in danger in Tokyo. So I truly don't know if it's going to have an effect. I would lean no as of right now, but I'm truly not sure. Let's do final thoughts, because this is way longer than I was expecting. It's taken a lot of different turns, and it's going to be an interesting comment section, that's for sure. So, Ricky, we'll go to you. Final thoughts.
My final thought is just I can't wait to see how this unfolds, because it's not done. That's for sure. Like, it's not done by any means. The last thing I would just say is, and this goes for just everyone, even here in America, this shows us how important tolerance is. We're all not going to have the same view, but if, I'll use Dave as an example because he's sitting right next to me, if Dave has a different view than I can still disagree with you while not hating your guts because of your view. So I would take that as like a lesson for all, that tolerance is a good thing, even in our own daily lives.
I'll let you.
You got something burning for
you can have well, that's what I was gonna say. I'm actually gonna go. You can have the last take.
Oh, okay.
I do disagree with you, and thankfully we can. Yeah. If people have a disagreement with me in most of my takes, I just think they're an asshole and an idiot. So, but that's my freedom as an American. But the cool thing that I just fought a ticket against the county that I live in. Right, I just fought a ticket against them, and I tweeted about it on Twitter. You can follow me at Schwarbo. But if I did that in China, there is a possibility of me speaking out against the government and me possibly facing another fine for doing so, or possibly facing jail time. That has been reported before, that in some of these countries outside of the United States, that speaking out against a government that is anti-free speech can put you in a situation where they will go after your family for speaking out against the government. So I feel very blessed to be in a country that I can tweet "fuck Metro" and "fuck Cook County" from Twitter and not be in prosecution, because we do have that freedom. So, if someone disagrees with me, and at least politically, I probably think they're an asshat. To be honest with you, but that's their American freedom to be an asshat, and that's my American freedom to call them an asshat, and that's cool, because they're not going to get in trouble for being a dumbass when it comes to politics, and I'm just a dumbass in general, and I won't get in prison for that. So that's cool.
That's really good, Sean.
Thanks.
I felt like you need to get that one off your chest.
Well, I just didn't want to, Ricky, to be like, whole humbug thing here, like, if you're on the right and I'm on the left, we could all be brothers in the end.
Brandon Swanson.
Yeah, fuck Brandon.
I think that in a world,
he's not going to be happy about that.
He's not going to listen to this.
I think that in a world where we're so divisive and everyone's on each side, I think we can come to the middle a little bit. Is it going to be all sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows?
That's a cool thing.
No, but I think we need to be better than we are.
Well, that's a cool thing.
And that's a topic for a different day. That's a cool thing. Podcast.
Politically, Brandon and I could not probably be more further apart. Yeah. But at least in this whole thing, we could be like, freedom of speech is pretty cool. So that part, I agree with you there. Jesus, this segment needs to end. Dave, wrap it up.
This is not going to go well. My summary is atrocities are happening everywhere in the world, and it's just shitty because there's a situation in China where I think the majority of people in this country would like to believe that if these people want freedom, if they want to be treated a certain way with certain rules around their lifestyle, like, they should have that ability. But because of who China is, what they do, and their global impact and power, like, I'm just afraid that I don't know what's really going to happen. I think something from the inside is going to happen, and I don't know how that's going to turn out. So I'm more glass half empty kind of a person, but yeah, it's not so hot. not so hot at the end of the day.
Yeah, this is a very difficult situation for the NBA to be in, Adam Silver to be in. Daryl Morey probably doesn't feel great right now. The players to be in, fans as well, because obviously we want what's best for
morally we're at one
for the
place,
NBA, but also we do want to at least back the morals we believe in. So. This is going to be a very highly reviewed segment. I truly do feel, because we can't even put out our Western Conference predictions without being called idiots. So I can't imagine what jumping into politics is going to do for our channel. But if you do have thoughts, please let us know down in the comment section below what those thoughts are, or you can even reach out to us on Twitter at Most Podcast. We would love to hear what you say, because if we are saying anything like factually wrong, then please let us know, because we obviously want to be as informed as possible. We want you guys to be as informed as possible. So definitely don't take all of the facts from this, and read up. Trust some sites.
We encourage you to read up on your own.
And read up on the Hong Kong situation, because we did our best, but we are as smart as we possibly can be. And you possibly can be smarter by educating yourself. So definitely check out some links and read up about the situation. All right, well, after that segment, let's move away from, the off-the-court stuff, and let's talk about strictly on-the-court stuff, where we measure on-the-court measurables and put them into a game. And we're going to promote now our fantasy basketball league that we set up each and every year on ESPN. It sucks that it's on ESPN, because ESPN is a trash site, but it's probably the easiest for everybody.
What other site would you want to use?
Yahoo. Yahoo is a better site.
We can do whatever you want.
No, let's just keep doing ESPN, because that's what we have been doing, and we have ESPN Plus.
Yeah,
so.
but we can change whenever we want.
Ricky, I just said it's fine. God,
Sean's like, I want those free metrics.
I just want to throw out that ESPN does suck when it comes to the fantasy.
Sean's
site.
like,
It's
I want
pretty
those
bad.
metrics we get from ESPN Plus.
Mom and Dad are fighting at the dinner table. Just
God.
trying to eat my mashed potatoes.
But here,
I'm
Dave,
just like, we can do whatever we want.
Dave, and
It's our
we can
league.
do whatever we want. And when I'm just saying we're going to keep it on ESPN, and Ricky's like, oh, we're going to keep it. We can do whatever we want. And I'm like, we're going to keep it on ESPN. I just said what we're going to do, right?
Yeah,
so,
but if you like Yahoo, why not try Yahoo?
Because do you listen to this podcast? I just
Yeah,
said, because everyone's on ESPN.
don't-
We've been doing it on ESPN for years. So let's just keep it the same.
Sounds like a plan to me.
There's a part of me also that's like, is it that hard to make a name? But I understand what you're saying.
God,
Is
anyways.
it that hard to make a Yahoo name if you don't have one?
Click the link down in the bar down below, the description down below, and you could join our fantasy league. We let patrons get first crack at it in the Discord, so there might be members already in there. But once this is
How many
posted,
teams are we going to make it? Is it 12 usually?
no, we had it like at 16 last
Did
year.
we?
Yeah, and we killed.
Yeah, so we're gonna keep it at 16 just to make the
It's very
teams
competitive.
very thin.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw out that if you are planning on joining, just make sure that you can be involved throughout the whole season. Just because if you do slack off at all, we're probably not going to allow you to be back next year, and that's unfortunate because people have not been allowed to do it. But if you do want to join us, click the link in the description. We'd love to have you this year. But let's move into the next segment, and we're going to welcome in our buddy, our pal, our guy who's been calling in for about 2 years now. Isn't today the 2-year anniversary?
Is it?
2 years.
Yeah, today is the 2 year of
2 years.
Jake calling in 24 months in a row.
Incredible.
Well, not in a row, but at least 24 times.
Yeah.
So shout out to Jake. Let's give Jake a round of applause. Come on.
I am pretty great.
Join patreon.com/mostofapodcast.
I'm sure headphone listeners love that clapping.
It was muted.
Okay.
It wasn't that loud. Jake, was it that loud?
No, you're good.
All right.
Okay, cool.
See, I
I'm
made
trying
sure.
to be considerate.
I give a little golf clap.
Okay.
All right. But we're going to jump in, obviously, for Jake to celebrate this 2-year celebration properly. We need to go out to his mainland, and we're going to go to Philadelphia. We're going to talk about his team, and we're going to do a 76ers preview. And, Jake, we know where we need to start. In the preseason game against, I think it was some overseas team, Ben Simmons hit a 3. And that was your hot take that Ben Simmons was going to hit 23s this year. What was the feeling like? Because I feel like that's got to be on the level of winning a championship, seeing Ben Simmons hit a 3.
Yeah, I was literally watching the game in my basement, and I jumped out of my couch and ran around my basement. And it's not even a joke. I literally did. And the whole arena was getting hyped up. Mike Scott was trying to hype him up to shoot it. You would have thought that, I don't even know. You would have thought that he made, a major comeback or something with the reaction he got.
When it first left his hands, what were your thoughts?
That bitch is going in. That's what I thought. It looked smooth. It did. It looked like it was actually a confident shot, which I mean, facing an overseas Chinese team, I would hope that it is.
Yeah,
but,
when you're
I
7
mean,
feet
hey.
tall, shooting over a guy who's about 5'11",
Who's
it's gonna be a
who's 5 foot back? Like he's 5 feet away from you.
even China knows to give him space because he's not going to take that shot. Like, that's the scouting report on him.
Hey, guess what? He made it.
He did make it, and I will give you credit. I will give him credit, and I'll give you credit too. For some reason, his shot did look smooth. It wasn't Markelle Fultz bad. It wasn't Lonzo bad. It was like a pretty decent pull-up jumper.
Lonzo has a good shot this year too.
Lonzo's is going in. It doesn't look good. Like if your jumper goes in, but it's the worst looking jumper I've ever seen. You're shooting it from your crotch.
Hey,
like
whatever works.
It's a bad looking
Hashtag
shot.
whatever works.
Exactly, whatever works. And this worked for Ben Simmons, but it also looks good. Jake, you said the hot take was going to be 23s this year. Do you think it's going to be something that we're going to see more in game? Because this was a preseason game. This was near the end of the game. They were going up against an overseas Chinese team.
It was halftime.
Oh, it was halftime. Okay, it felt like it felt like the end of a quarter.
It was the end of
Nothing else
competitive
mattered after that. Is
basketball.
the point.
Yeah, I just saw the actual shot. I wasn't looking at the score.
Nothing else mattered after that. Is the point. So.
Yeah, but and you see the shot from behind him as well of the fans, and everyone's acting like it's a buzzer beater. But it
was.
Was it? Did it beat the?
Yeah, it was a buzzer beater. It was at the end of the first half.
All right. So again, Ben Simmons just shooting up another buzzer beater as well, which most of his attempts have come from. But anyways, to get to the actual point, does this give you any faith about your hot take that it maybe not could happen, or obviously it's possible now that he actually has made one in a game? But do you think that now seeing the actual shot, seeing it go in, how do you think that's going to help his confidence?
Well, obviously, I think it's going to help with confidence because now when he makes one, it won't be as big of a reaction because it was over the top. But I mean, I'm here for it because we've waited 2 years for the man to shoot a three, so it's worth it. I don't really know if I'm going to read too much into it because we have to see if he's actually going to take it in regular season games. That again was at the end of the first half, at that end of the buzzer against the team from China. Like it's cool. It's really cool that he made it, and I think obviously his shot looks a lot better, which is a huge improvement over last year, and I need to see him do it in a regular season game before I get really excited. And when I'm there for the season opener, if he makes a three, I might lose it. I honestly might just lose it.
All right, so let's get away from just Ben Simmons hitting a normal basketball shot.
You know what blows my mind about it? The way Jake described how he reacted to it is how I reacted to the Minnesota Miracle. So just to put it in perspective, one's a three, one's a game winner.
Here, let's put it in this perspective. Jake is a Saints fan as well.
Yes.
When you won the Super Bowl in 2009, what was a better feeling?
No, that was a better feeling, obviously. That was also, you need to call it the real name, Ricky. It's called the meaningless miracle because they lost 30.
The Minnesota Miracle.
And I forgot that even happened against the Saints. Didn't want to bring up a thorn in the side of your guys' relationship.
That's for sure.
Let's go into the actual preview, though. 76ers last year obviously made the playoffs, lost in an unfortunate fashion for Jake and all of their fans as well, and for the players and teams in Toronto in Game 7 off this crazy shot from Kawhi Leonard. They lose to the eventual champions, the Toronto Raptors. They finished last year in the Eastern Conference. They finished third place, 51 wins, 31 losses. Jake, what do you think the expectation for this team is now that Kawhi is out of the Eastern Conference and that Kyrie's now out of Boston, he's in Brooklyn, and now that the Indiana Pacers have kind of reloaded a little bit, the Bucks are still the Bucks, and you guys have made your changes. Obviously, Josh Richardson being on the team now, Joel Embiid being on the team, JJ leaving, Jimmy Butler leaving, along with just other minor moves like TJ McConnell going to Indiana. Well, for some people,
Did you just say minor and
people.
TJ in the same sentence? Disrespect.
What is the expectation for the 76ers after the minor TJ McConnell?
They're the best team in the East, in my opinion. And I understand, obviously, you have the Milwaukee Bucks. And the injury concerns are always going to be there with the Sixers. But this year, they're right there to compete with anybody in the East. I know people are going to put the Bucks in front of them. I'm completely biased, so I'm going to say we're the best team in the East. They're right there for the picking this year. The East is wide open. Obviously, the Bucks got worse from last year. The Sixers, you could talk. Some people could say they got worse losing Jimmy and JJ. I honestly think they got better even, and I think their bench also greatly improved from last year. And with the improvements that you could see from Ben this year, and we'll probably get into him later, I'm really excited to see Thibault play this year. And hopefully Joel Embiid improves his passing, rushes down his turnovers. And the defense on this team is going to be incredible to watch. I just think, I think they're the best team in the East, and I think it's at least I don't want to say finals or bust because the team is still young. I just think expectations have to be set at the finals, and and Brett Brown even said it, they want the 1 seed this year. That's the goal. And I think they're going to end up with the 2 seed. I think I said in the hot take they're going to end up with the 1 seed. Mm-hmm. In reality, they'll probably have the 2 or 3 seed. But yeah, I think it's finals are the expectations.
Well, the fun thing that people don't get to see is we have a little bit of a pre-show meeting. It's nothing too serious, but I'm glad you said the words finals or bust because I think Ricky Widmer has something to say about that.
Yeah, it's finals or bust. Like, that's what it is. And it's not winning the finals, it's getting to the finals. Like Jake said it, the East is wide open. If the Sixers don't make the finals, blow it up. And I know that last part's a joke, but it's a bust. Like, something needs to change. Like, here's my thought process. If the Sixers don't make the finals and win the East, something needs to change. Something. And what is that? Like, you're not going to get rid of Ben. You're not going to get rid of Joe. Who are you going to get rid of? You guys already know. It's my hot take. But that's it. You've got to make the finals. That should be your mindset if you're the Sixers. Not whether you're the 1 seed or not. That means nothing. Make it to the finals no matter what seed you are.
Why shouldn't Terry Stotts be fired in Portland?
I mean, you could make an argument that he might, but I wouldn't make that argument.
Why? What's the argument?
Well, I mean, here's the thing that's different about
argument?
the Blazers. The Blazers are running into the Warriors. And, yeah, the 1 year they lose to the Pelicans, but look at that backcourt that they had. Like, that backcourt defensively was amazing with Drew and Rondo. The East has never been as stacked as the West, and it's not like the 76ers are running into LeBron every year. That was the Raptors that were doing that. So, I mean, if I'm the 76ers, based off of how the East is, I got to make the finals or else something needs to change because if you run it back, what's going to be different? How's the outcome going to be different?
And for those who haven't watched our hot take video, Ricky, something that's going to change.
Yeah, Brett Brown's going to be fired. Yeah.
Just to clarify.
I want to a little combat you there. Yes, the West is deeper and it's more competitive, but I don't think that means their best team is better than the East's best team. And I think we can see that the East is more top-loaded. So, yes, they might not be losing to the Warriors, a full-loaded Warriors, but we saw last year that the Raptors did come out and win the title last year. We've seen the Cavs come out and win the title against the full-strength Warriors before. Obviously, that was before KD came out there. But
full strength.
But Draymond was out for a game.
Yeah, he was.
Kid.
They would have won that series.
He didn't even realize what I said.
Oh my God, we're not starting that conversation.
I did. I just wasn't going to get into it, but Dave brought it up, so okay, I will.
I don't.
Welcome, Jake.
I just disagree with the fact that it's an easier road for Portland because you look at what the Sixers could have.
It's a harder road for Portland.
What is the opposite of harder?
No, you said it was an easier road for Portland.
I meant Sixers. My bad. Thanks for fixing that then. It's an easier road for the Sixers, but if you look at their actual road, if they got to the finals, it's likely going to be, or at least last year it would have been Raptors and Bucks, and that's better than whoever the Portland played before Golden State did. I think it was Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City was a worse team than the Bucks or Raptors were last year. So it would have been a harder road for Philadelphia to get to the finals than it was for Portland. Yes, they had to play the Warriors, but I think it would have been a difficult, longer stretch for the 76ers to get to the finals.
Here's the other thing. Dame and CJ are good. They're top players. But who do we expect? Who do we put more in the championship aspirations category? Joe or Ben or Dame and CJ? It's Joe and Ben.
Wait, okay, I was going to say, because Joe's better than Damian Lillard.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. The Sixers have the better players, so that's why we kind of if the Blazers don't make it far in the playoffs, I'm not shocked because Dame and CJ have proven so far that them alone cannot get the Blazers to the finals, where the Sixers were 4 bounces away from being in the
Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, the Bucks-Sixers series could have gone either way. I would have thought the Bucks would win it, but I'm not saying the Sixers would have been completely out of it. If that ball doesn't go in and the Sixers win, it's a completely different story we're looking at. So, I mean,
okay.
Joe and Ben, we expect them to make it to an NBA Finals in their career together.
I know you haven't talked much, Dave, and I'm going to get you in right after this, but I think the reason why finals or bust is brought up with the Sixers, and mainly only the Sixers, what other team are we bringing up finals or bust for with any of these teams? We're not talking about that with the Milwaukee Bucks. Mm-hmm. No one cares about the Milwaukee Bucks being finals or bust. People care about the Milwaukee Bucks.
I'd say they'd be in the category of make the finals or it's a bust.
Disagree. I think think the fact that they have Giannis Antetokounmpo, that the fact that they're a lower level market, that there's not that much pressure to win a finals as long as you're competitive. That's the biggest thing for Milwaukee. As long as Giannis is having success, you're able to keep him around. You know that you're going to have a shot to be a very good team in the Eastern Conference, and you have the feeling of, hey, maybe one year can be our year at some point. We're going to be in the mix, and that's what we want for our fans. And if we get to the finals, awesome. If we are able to win the finals, even better. That's fantastic. But this has not been a powerhouse team, in the past years, pretty much since Lou Alcindor left, now known as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I think with that, though, the reason why the whole finals or bust thing is put on the 76ers is because they had to go through the whole process thing. And that's the only reason why it's finals or bust, because people have a negative mind of or negative thought process or negative view of the Sixers because of Sam Hinkie and because of the process. And that is the only reason why they are the team that's always put in that finals or bust mentality.
I would have to agree with you here, because I don't even agree with Ricky on the expectations. Like, Dame and CJ are both in their prime. Like, those two should be able to get further in the playoffs. I understand what's the expectations for the future of Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, but as of right now, like, I'm trusting Dame and CJ to get me there more than Ben and Joel last year.
So then you weren't shocked a week or two ago when Sean had his hot take of the Blazers winning the finals.
I mean, he said Blake Griffin's going to be on the team too. And Blake Griffin was a top MVP person last year.
That
so
is
like
in that trip,
but
it's like
tweaks things a little.
If someone said, even take that out of it, if someone just said, "Oh, the Blazers are going to win the finals," would you say, "Oh yeah, I could see that," or would you say, "No, you're smoking something"? Because I would be like, "You're smoking something." They ain't even going to touch the finals.
Healthy Nurkic, two guards who can do a lot. I don't know. I think it's a long shot, but I could see it happening this year. I actually said it on this show that I could see it happening this year already. So, yeah, no, it's not impossible. But the thought of the matter is those are two guys in their primes. Ben and Joel aren't. Like, they're pre-prime unless Joel's career ends tragically short, in which case this is his prime. Knock on wood for me, Jake. Sorry about that.
I already was.
But yeah, I think the expectation definitely was put on them because of the entire process, because of all the media focus on it. Inside the city, yes, they accelerated their own timeline. They went after Jimmy Butler last year. They went after Tobias Harris. They really tried to give themselves all the firepower, because the year prior, they exceeded all expectations. We expected them to be a trash team, and all of a sudden, they rattled together so many wins at the end of the year with those late season pickups from the Hawks. And I was really, I don't know, it kind of puts me in a weird mood, because could they have been on a different timeline had that not happened? Had they not strung together those wins, made it to the playoffs, and looked and played how they did? I think so. But, they made all their moves. They've pulled out all the stops. They've gone full in on this roster as is. And I think they've got probably still like a 4-year window. Like, I don't think it's this year is make or break for them. I think this year is like, yes, everyone says you have the best starting talent in the NBA, 5 deep. Yep, that's it. Outside of that, if you pull it off, great. Your bench is awful, and you have unproven weapons out there. Like, Al Horford's great, but he's an old man. He's not going to carry a playoff series. Nobody else on that team has proven they can carry a playoff series. Ben Simmons has notably been missing in times where he needs to be more active on the offense. Joel Embiid has either been not healthy or been a turnover-prone machine in the low post. So I think really this year is just all about establishing what is their who is their go-to guy? How are they going to close out games without Jimmy Butler? That's the biggest point of prove it for me this season. I do expect them to make the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know if they will win them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
And I want to shoot this question at Jake that I've got, because one thing you said, Jake, that when you said it, my head kind of cocked back like, no, that should not be the goal of this team, is when you said Brett Brown was like, yes, we expect to be the 1 seed this year, where I was kind of like, no, don't aspire to be the 1 seed. I know what people are going to say, but Ricky, every game then goes through Philadelphia on your road. The thing I look at in my thought process when I heard that was, since 2008, we've only had 2 times where both 1 seeds made it to the finals. The 2008, when it was Lakers-Celtics, and then the, what was it? It was Warriors-Cavs in 2016. Other than that, whether it's the Raptors, the Warriors in 2018, you had the Cavs were a 2 seed, the Heat were a 2 seed, Spurs, Thunder, all of these, hell, even like the Mavs who were a 3 seed, the Boston Celtics in 2010 who were a 3rd seed, as a Sixer fan, are you worried that this team, if they're shooting for the 1 seed, they might burn, I want to say Ben and Joe, but more so I lean on Joe. Like, are they going to burn him out trying to get to the 1 seed rather than doing, let's say the Raptors did last year? Hey, we're going to load management. If we're the 2, that's fine, as long as our guys are ready to go for the playoffs. Am I crazy, or do I have some logic in that thinking, Jake?
No, I get what you're saying. I agree in some parts and I disagree in other parts. I think the reason that they're saying that Brett Brown said he wants the 1 seed is because this team kind of, I don't really know how to explain it. It seems like they're gelling better than any of the other teams have in the past 2 years. I only really go back to the past 2 years because those are only really relevant years. Before then they were trash. I just think they need to build some type of confidence and consistency inside the rotation, inside the locker room, which I don't think they've had in the last 2 years. With all the injuries that went on 2 years ago and the trades that went on last year, there's just been you could even see it like when in game 1 against Brooklyn when they played, there was no sort of like cohesiveness whenever they played in the playoffs to start. And it didn't really feel like, they didn't really have confidence going into the playoffs is what I saw against good teams. And now this year, after almost beating the Raptors, the 4 bounces, blah, 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 now I think they finally feel, with Al Horford coming in, who's a proven veteran, he's a great defender. Offensively, he's limited somewhat, but he's still a great defender, and we get into that later against the Bucks too. I think he'll be a huge part in that series. I just think they want to form some type of confidence coming from the regular season into the playoffs. But Joel Embiid is the big problem. He does not need to play more than 60 games. I don't think for this team to be the 2 seed, he needs to play more than 60 games. I think that's why Al Horford was brought in. I have confidence in the bench. He is the big part. I don't really worry about Ben, Al Horford, Josh Richardson, Tobias Harris burning out. He's the one where I know he wants to be Defensive Player of the Year and MVP, and if he played more than 60 games, he probably could be. I just don't think it's necessary because it's just not. It's just nothing that we need. He doesn't need to have Defensive Player of the Year MVP. He wants the ring, or he says he wants the ring. And if he really did that, he would be on 30 minutes a game for 60 games a year.
Yeah, I think a lot of the mindset into Brett Brown's statement is to challenge this team to stay healthy, but also keep engaged throughout the season, because everyone's pegging them as this, amazing, daunting team, and it's, when playoff time comes, that's when they've got to prove it. But you have to get to playoff time, and I think a lot of the challenges, it's an 82-game season, several months, it's a long season, and there's a lot of travel, and guys are going to have off nights, but if you can keep them engaged throughout, then you're going to have a better team come playoff time.
And the one thing I'm just going to throw out there to play devil's advocate to what I brought up was, yes, we haven't had 1v1 a lot in the finals, but if you look at the past winners, a lot of them are like, hey, it's the 1. Like, you had the 1 versus the 2. Oh, the 1 seed obviously won because they had home court in the finals. The thing that I think with the Sixers that is different than every other year is if you look at the West, there's a greater chance that the 1 seed might not even be in the finals because of how stacked the West is and how much they might beat each other up in the playoffs.
And with that, at least from what I can recall, and you look at the Cavaliers who consistently made the finals, it wasn't important for them to be the number 1 seed. It was get in, and then LeBron will work his magic, and that's what's going to happen. And they were actually doing this whole rest thing before with LeBron, where he wasn't playing a ton, and he was getting taken out early, and he was taking on-off days every now and then to rest up. And then you also had the Spurs as well, who they really just needed to get in as well because they've been getting in for 22 straight years. As long as they have a shot, Pop can work their magic. They have Manu, Tony, Tim. They all have the possibility to win. So I don't know if the 1 seed truly matters to getting to the NBA Finals. Usually the best teams make it there, and we know who the best teams are typically on the outside looking in. I think we can all say here, if the 76ers make the finals this year, I don't think any of us would be shocked. Would you, Ricky?
Minor shock, only because... And the only reason I say minor shock is because I expect the Bucks to win the East. Other than that, no. There's no huge shock.
It's not a shock.
Yeah.
The shock is being like, holy shit, I couldn't even fathom this.
Now, if they beat the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals to get there, yeah, there'd be a little bit of shock. But if they don't play the Bucks at all and get there, no, I wouldn't be shocked.
I just think that, there is a very strong case to be made that the Sixers are the best team in the Eastern Conference, and if they make it to the finals, I don't think I'd be shocked. I mean, you look back at last year, the Raptors weren't the number one seed, but we knew that this team could be dangerous come playoff time because you have Kyle Lowry, you have Kawhi Leonard, you have Marc Gasol, you have Pascal Siakam, who is most improved player of the year at that time. You have Serge Ibaka, who's a playoff warrior, Danny Green as well, Fred VanVleet. You have the basis of them to getting there. Golden State in 2018, they were the best team in the NBA. We knew that. They were just the second seed. Cavs as well, same thing. Cavs the year before were second seed. You had 1-1 in 2016 Warriors versus Cavs as well. The year before as well, LeBron making it as a 2 seed. The year before that, LeBron making it as a 2 seed. The Spurs there as a 2 seed. Then the Heat as a 2 seed. The Heat as a 2 seed. We knew that these teams were possible. I don't know if the 1v1 thing makes a ton of difference. But Jake, to wrap it up, final thing. Obviously, the expectation is that this team could possibly make it to the NBA Finals, but I do want to talk about at least the bench a little bit more because that is something that people have harped on, especially last season. And you say that it has improved. One guy that has stuck out, I know, in your mind is Matisse Thybulle, the draft pick from Washington. Let's talk about that bench a little bit, and I know you're probably going to start off with Thybulle. So, what have you seen from this bench at least come preseason, and what do you expect from them to help out this team?
Yeah, well, the big part is who's going to play with what. Brett Brown obviously has been consistent that Joel Embiid's usually the first one subbed out, and whoever goes out with him is usually his partner when they come off the bench. And in the first preseason game, at least, and what we all expected is that's Josh Richardson. It'll be Josh Richardson playing most of the backup point guard minutes. You'll see Neto and Burke kind of thrown in there. But Thybulle came in to play with Horford, Simmons, and Tobias, and that lineup was so effective and scary. Thybulle is flying around the court, and we all knew he still has his troubles and foul troubles playing one-on-one defense, which hopefully that improves over the year. And Brett Brown even said he's never going to hold Thybulle back because of his foul problems, because if you hold him back, that takes away from who he is. Mm-hmm. I think in the big improvement that I've seen from Thybulle is that he's willing and taking spot of threes, which if he's going to play with Ben Simmons, Al Horford, and Tobias Harris, that's huge. And he hit 2 out of 4 on, I don't know what day it was, the last preseason game, which I'm not going to read too much into preseason shooting, obviously, but at least that he's there and taking it. Yep. It's a huge improvement. And him cutting off passing lanes and blocking shots and just being a nightmare on defense is having that off the bench. It's not Patrick Beverley, but it almost is like Patrick Beverley-esque in the way that it can bring up a team and lift the team and keep the energy going throughout the entire game.
No, I agree. I think Thybulle's shown a lot, and that's one of the reasons we really highlighted him coming into the year through the NBA draft was he plays that kind of like free safety role. He's so disruptive to teams' offenses because he doesn't stick to his man like glue. He's always head on a swivel, keeping his arms out and his hands active. So I agree with you. I think a shot is going to surprise a lot of people. He's probably going to shoot about 33, 34% from three, and that's fine. Like that will get the job done. That means he's not a liability out there. They're not playing complete slack off when he's at the three-point line. So I think he'll be huge for this team.
And he was a guy, too, when we were talking about consistently through the NBA draft, was that he is a prime candidate of look at the free throw percentage, and he is a guy that shot can be bounce back, because you look at some of his shots, and he wasn't a huge scorer throughout his whole Washington career. His best years were coming his sophomore and junior year, and people were a little bit taken aback by when his senior year, he went from 36% in his junior year all the way down to 30%, but you got to look at the free throw percentage and what happened to his personnel around him. And in one of those years, I think it was the 2016-2017 year where he had 10.5 points and was shooting 40% from three. He had Markelle Fultz on his team. He had an actual playmaker, and then Washington's team around him got worse in his junior and senior year. So the fact that he is taking those shots on the outside and that the stroke is there, I think people are going to be surprised by his actual three-point shooting, and the fact that he's not afraid to is going to be huge. And I think when you have him out there with Ben, that's going to be a very potent duo because he can shoot from the outside. One guy, Jake, is Neto, the point guard you guys signed, formerly of the Jazz. You were talking to him up a little bit in our DMs. What have you seen so far from him that he can add? Because he is likely going to be your backup point guard now that TJ's gone, and you're going to need somebody to back him up, and even Fultz too. You're going to need somebody to back up Ben Simmons. What can he add to this rotation?
Yeah, he's kind of just a rock. Even when he was healthy last year in Utah, he wasn't healthy for a while, but when he was healthy, he doesn't turn the ball over a lot. He finds open shooters. He's able to semi-create his own shot, and he can knock down threes, which, I mean, again, he didn't get much playing time in the first preseason game because a lot of it went to Trey Burke, actually, who's completely different role than Neto plays. But I think Neto just kind of provides security, not like in the way that TJ did. TJ was obviously all around the court, but he turned the ball over a lot. I don't think Neto will turn the ball over as much as TJ did, and he's just kind of solid. I don't think he'll help the team too much, but I don't think he'll hurt them, which is the big thing off the bench. And the Sixers had last year is that their bench significantly hurt them when their starters came off the court, and I don't think he does that as bad as they did last year. But then Burke, the other guy, he's completely opposite. He's so high risk but high reward off the bench. If you get him going in one game like he did in the preseason game, he can light up the scoreboard, but he can turn the ball over a lot. He can become an inefficient scorer a lot. So I do think Neto will win out the job eventually. I just think he's consistent off the bench, and that's all they really need from the backup point guard position.
Yeah, I think Trey Burke really is like a downhill kind of a player. Just identifies as that like six-man scoring role. So it'll be interesting to see how they balance that out because, like you said, they can go three wide with Ben Simmons, Josh Richardson, and Matisse Thybulle, and that gives them an incredible amount of defense at the guard and start of the wing position. But if they want and need offense, benching or bringing Trey Burke off the bench for Ben Simmons, they completely change the dynamic of that bench unit. So I feel like they can almost like cater to what they need in the given moment, if the coach is able to correctly manage the situation, which is asking a little bit.
Well, and I mean, the thing that I just keep thinking of with the bench is I'm going to go to what we harped on earlier in the segment, and it's the playoff. When we get to playoff time, who's going to be that guy off the bench that steps up? Because, like, I think of, obviously, you mentioned the Warriors, and you've got both. Chandre Livendala. But even, like, last year, non-Warrior players. One of the main reasons the Blazers, I would say, got to where they were, Seth Curry, and what he was able to provide for that team off the bench in his quality minutes. You had Fred VanVleet, who was the, like, Cinderella Hollywood story. The bet on myself. He wasn't a starter. He was also off the bench. So it's like the Sixers, it's great you have Joe. It's great you have Ben. But like in the playoffs, if you want to reach the finals, somebody from this bench is going to have to, I don't want to say put the team on my back but they're going to have to when Joe and Ben aren't out there.
Yeah, and Jake, I'm interested to see like who you think it would be because I have an idea of who you're going to say, and I have an idea who my guy is, but I want to know who you're going to say first,
well, this guy's going to be staggered a lot, and he's going to be coming off with a bench unit, but he is going to start. I think it's Josh Richardson. He's going to play a lot of the backup point guard in the playoffs because of his ability to defend. He can primary ball hand. He did it last year for the Miami Heat. And he's also a decent facilitator because I don't think Neto or Burke, they're defensive liabilities. You won't see them on the court in the playoffs. I think it's Josh Richardson, and I think you put Josh Richardson out there with James Ennis, Embiid, Mike Scott, and somebody else, and that lineup can be effective, and Joel Embiid and Josh Richardson in the pick and roll could be absolutely deadly. That's what he misses with Ben Simmons, obviously. Ben Simmons not being willing to shoot Joe in the primary offense. But if you throw Josh Richardson and Joel Embiid out there with a couple of shooters, I think that lineup is very effective. I think Josh Richardson can be that guy to get him over the hump in the playoffs.
See, I weirdly think it's actually going to be Thybulle, and I was surprised that you didn't go with him because I think Richardson is going to see some starting time. So I really don't think of him too much as a bench guy. I'm thinking of a guy just strictly coming off the bench. And I look at Thybulle, and I think he's got the makeups of everything that you want in a playoff guy. A guy who can play hard-nosed defense, who can flip momentum by a couple blocks, a couple steals, and he can hit big shots. And we obviously know that the three-point ability is there, and we're talking about him stepping up more in preseason and taking spot-up shots. And I think that we are looking at a guy who can possibly be a Danny Green type player, or to that caliber of a 3-and-D player. And we know what Danny Green has been able to do for teams year in and year out. And I think that you're probably going to be, looking when we do this next year, hopefully, year 3 of Jake's Patron, here in October, we will be talking about Matisse Thybulle being their sixth man. I am very, very high on this kid, and I'm super excited to see what he can do.
I'll take your young gun and go with a different one, Zaire Smith. Like, from what we saw, of course it was a little rusty at times at Summer League, but there's a potential there with seeing him live where it's like whether it's an alley-oop from Thybulle, whether it's a big-time, dunk. This is a guy that can, to me, in a playoff situation, if he's got to grow there first because he's still a young kid, but he has the capability, in my mind, to be like a fire starter for this team off the bench, where it's like a big play, a big moment, and it's like it gets the team going, it lights that fire, and gets them kind of through some tough parts. So, I would raise your Thybulle and go with Smith.
I mean, The only reason I'm afraid of Zaire Smith is he hasn't shown the ability to shoot yet. Really, I agree with you. The preseason, or I'm sorry, not preseason. Summer League stuff was super entertaining because he just plays with such energy and passion. When he gets momentum going, he's scary. He's very athletic, and he knows how to use his body in the low post. And I know technically like he's a 2 guard, but he played like the 4 in college. Like he's a unique package, and he knows how to use that. I just don't know that he's going to be ready to take a step, and without his shot being consistent or comfortable, I'm hesitant to say he'll be a difference maker come playoff time, but definitely has that momentum in his game when he scores some points.
Let's wrap it up with how we usually wrap up every single topic. Gonna be final thoughts, Jake. Obviously, yours are probably going to hold the most weight since you are a Sixers fan, since you're going to follow this team the most throughout the season, watching all 82 games plus playoffs. We'll go to you last, Ricky. What are your final thoughts on this topic and the Sixers preview? What are you expecting for this team?
You know what? With this team, I really am going to go on it. It's a finals or bust. They got to basically win the East or bust, I'll say, because I don't expect them to win the finals if they get matched up against like a Clippers team. But if they get to the finals and get paired up against a team that they can win against, like it's a possibility. This team, in my mind, needs to win the East, needs to win the finals, or else things need to change. So it's make the finals or bust year for the Sixers.
Dave, final thoughts?
I'm capping at Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think that they're going to be favorites to come out of that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Depends on who they play, too.
True that. But no, I'm not putting any clock on this team. Everybody who is valuable on their team is still super young. They've got years of contract to go. Yes, this team is maxed out on contracts as it currently stands, but the NBA is a constantly evolving game of how you can squeeze these numbers in correctly and move them around to get what you need for this team. So I would expect this team to, even throughout the year, look to add or change around some pieces. But yeah, it's Eastern Conference Finals, and then no problem for the next couple of years.
I'm going to end the way we finished, and I'm not really looking too much into the prediction route or anything like that, but it's more of what we need to preview and I think we need to look at throughout this whole season and the way it's going to progress. And the big thing, I think, for the 76ers is how Ben Simmons progresses and how he's going to take on and how he's possibly going to grow as a player. And right now he's probably, I think Jake will argue me on this, but probably a fringe top 25 player to fringe top 20 player, wherever you want to put him. But he's definitely not top 15, I think, as of right now. And I'm very interested to see how he progresses. And if he does take that next step, where will he be at the end of the season? And maybe it will be finals or bust next season. I don't think it is this year because they don't have, a guy who is, I think, right now solidified as a star. And the only guy you can say is Embiid. But even with Embiid, the only reason why I'm saying that is because he is so young and he is still developing as a player. He's still growing into his body. He's still finding out what works for him throughout an entire season. And I don't think he's fully found that out yet. So I'm not going to say he's a full-fledged superstar yet. I'd say the same thing for Nikola Jokic. I'd say the same thing for, Donovan Mitchell, Luka Doncic, whatever young player you want to throw in here. He's not old enough to, I think, be a superstar yet. I want to know if Ben Simmons is going to be fighting with him, though, to be the best player on the Sixers after this year, and that's what I'm looking forward to, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing that fans need to watch out for and players need to watch out for, and outside fans as well. Where is Ben Simmons at the end of the year, and can we be talking about him as a top 15 player? And that's the thing I'm most excited to be watching throughout this whole Sixers season, when I do tune into their game. So, Jake, what is your final thoughts on the Sixers 2019-2020 season?
Yeah, you took the Ben Simmons route. I'll take the other route. I'm watching Joel Embiid this year. Joel Embiid needs to solidify himself as the best big man in the league. He needs to end the debate that you have with Nikola Jokic, with Anthony Davis, whatever it is. He needs to show everybody how good he can truly be. And that one stage starts with being healthy, and that two means showing up in the playoffs. And I know last year he was sick and all that stuff, but he needs to show up. If this team is going to be successful, their best player needs to be their best player night in and night out in crucial games. And last year we saw that at some points, and some points we just saw him disappear. And if this team's going to be effective with all the question marks they have and their bench, Joel Embiid is going to have to be that guy, and he's going to have to be that guy night in and night out.
Jake, I just want to end on a high note for your 2-year anniversary. Obviously, we want to thank you for supporting and being not only our longest patron, but our most consistent guy, our guy that's always coming on pretty much every single month. I mean, when you're not coming on, it's mainly my fault for not booking you that month. So literally, you've been here supporting us a ton. We're super grateful for that, and for that, I'm going to leave you with the stat line of 50% from the field, 39.3% from three, 84% 34.6% from the line, 25 points, 13 rebounds, 8.4 assists, and that is Nikola Jokic's stat line in the playoffs last year, the sign of a true superstar. Thank you so much, Jake. We appreciate your time.
You're an asshole.
But let's move into the final topic, and we're going to be talking about the Clippers and if they can win the West in the regular season. And I found an article very interesting, and a guy that I'm very excited to see back writing articles is John Hollinger, guy who used to write for ESPN, then moved to front offices in the NBA, and is now back as a writer for The Athletic. Wrote a piece, and he was previewing the NBA Pacific Division. Mainly the LA Clippers was his starting off point, and he said the view inside the league is the same as from the outside. In a span of 2 years plus, the LA Clippers have transformed themselves into one of the league's top-notch organizations and are now deserving, if slight, favorites in the West this year. By extension, that also makes them the favorites in a newly competitive Pacific Division. That the Clips won the Kawhi Leonard sweepstakes owes much favorable geography, but they also positioned themselves to benefit with a series of deft moves over the past 2 seasons. To the immense credit of both the organization and Doc Rivers, they managed to pull this off amidst an organizational restructuring that stripped Rivers of personnel powers without running an elite coach out the door. Now, here's the part that was very interesting to me and which is going to spark the conversation that we're about to have. Despite their offseason bounty, the Clippers may not be a regular season win machine. Paul George, acquired for the high price of first fives Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Danilo Gallinari, will miss the first month or so, and Leonard will likely miss a chunk of the season with assorted DNP rest nights, just like he did in Toronto. And then he goes in and talks about the bench, mainly Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell. But the thing that was interesting to me was the part that they might not be a regular season win machine. And he is right. Paul George is banged up with his shoulder injury. Kawhi Leonard obviously wasn't a super active player last year. He only played 60 games, but when he was active, he was super influential to the Raptors winning an NBA Finals. The biggest question, though, I have for you is, do you agree with John Hollinger that they won't be a regular season win machine? And if they're not a regular season win machine, they're probably not going to win the West. So what are your thoughts on that? Can the Clippers win the West? And if they can, how will they do it?
I think that they probably won't win the West. I agree with him. I think the superstar power of this Clippers team really is so dependent on those guys playing, and if they're not able to play, then, their B squad's still very good. That's the upside is, you're coming in with such talent, the sixth man of the year and then like the third in the running for sixth man of the year. So I think the big thing when it comes to the Clippers is trying to figure out what really their focus is. And I don't think it's to win the West in the regular season. I think they can, like you said before, is they can roll into the playoffs and they're going to be fine because that's when the games actually matter. As long as they make the playoffs in the competitive West, they're going to be fine.
Yeah, I think with that, and we're having some difficulties with the camera, so Ricky's going to be a little bit out of this conversation to start, but we're just trying to get that back fired up. But with that, I think the biggest thing that's going to dictate that is going to be Paul George and Kawhi Leonard's health. Can they be out there for enough games to help them win the regular season? I don't know if it's crucial to their season to win the regular season, and I don't know really what advantage it will give to them outside of home court advantage for some playoff series. If they're second seed, they won't get the home court for the the conference finals if they're going up against the 1 seed. But
unless the 1 seed's the Lakers,
yeah, then there is no home court, right? That would be interesting to see. I mean, because the Clippers can just play Clipper fan. I mean, then it's just really Lakers have 7 games of home court advantage, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I doubt that the Clippers are going to outsell them when it comes to fans in the arena.
They are not.
But I don't know how important it is to really win the regular season because this is a team that has very rarely had playoff success. They haven't gone to an NBA Finals in their franchise history, and they haven't, obviously, if they haven't gone to the finals, they haven't won a final. So I think the biggest thing for them this year is just going to be, can they win the finals this year? And I don't know if the regular season is going to play that large into a factor. So it's really play the guys, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, when they're fully healthy. Obviously, Paul George just won't play the first entire season. Play them
not the first entire season, first month of the season.
First month of the season, thank you. Is going to just be play him against the hard teams that it's going to be difficult to, and you could bench him against the Suns. Oh, sorry, Suns fans, or some of the Eastern Conference.
The Hornets.
Yeah, the Hornets. You don't need to play him against those guys, but when you're going up against the Nuggets, you do need to play them. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing for them is just balancing that. Even through that, though, the question still remains: this is still a decent team. Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams, Ivica Zubac, Landry Shamet.
Mo Harkless.
Yeah, Mo Harkless. They could possibly make some waves even without these players Do you think that there's a possibility with all this rest, Ricky, with all this time missed that Paul George is going to have at the beginning of the season, do you think it's possible that they can be the number 1 seed in the Western Conference?
You know what? Like, there's a part of me that says they can, and it's not just because in my predictions I had them as the number 1 seed. But there's a part of me that's saying I don't think they will. And the reason why I am on board where it doesn't matter to the Clippers is, number one, I'm kind of, after we did our predictions, I was kind of thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? Watch the Nuggets just be the regular season Warriors, where it's like, and I don't mean like the Golden State Warriors, I mean like they're just going to win games and prove that we're the best. Like, not that they're gunning for it, but it's kind of like we're going to be that team to get home court advantage, where the Clippers might be more of like we're a good team, even if they're second, even if they're third. Let's say the Lakers are second, or like the Jazz have a really good year and they're second, where the Clippers aren't going to be in a bad shape if they're the 3 seed. And the thing I even go more so into it is, let's say they're 2 and 3, win the West and go to the NBA Finals. Even if, let's say, the 76ers or the Bucks are the 1 seed on that side and have home court advantage, I would maybe pick the Clippers in a series against either one of those 2 East teams, because both of those 2 East teams don't have experience when it comes to the NBA Finals. The Clippers have Doc Rivers, who does, and then they have Kawhi Leonard, who does. And Paul George has playoff experience. I know he doesn't have finals experience, but I mean, he, to me, paired with Kawhi Leonard, would put them above both the Bucks and the Sixers, where I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucks or the Sixers against the Clippers in the finals, I don't want to say choked, but let it slip away to let the Clippers win that finals, even if the first 2 games were in Milwaukee or in Philly. Because, I mean, the Raptors won, and I mean, I know Clay went down and Kevin Durant wasn't playing, but the Warriors had home field or home court.
I think the one thing, too, is some people might bring up that Nick Nurse didn't have coaching experience in the NBA Finals, but also no one did, at least out of the big teams.
You had Brett Brown did. Kawhi Leonard, though.
Yeah, well, but no, I'm just saying, like, that they're in a very different situation, than Kawhi Leonard's team was last year, and even the Eastern Conference team was last year, where Brett Brown didn't have playoff, finals coaching experience as well, and they were a very young team out in the East. Budenholzer didn't have NBA Finals experience as a head coach. Nick Nurse didn't either. But now you do have that upper leg where Mike Malone doesn't have that experience, where none of those players have finals experience as well on that team. Maybe there's like some veteran, but I don't think so. Paul Millsap's the guy that I'm thinking of, but he didn't go to the finals. You look at the Lakers as well. They're going up against Frank Vogel, like Jesus Christ. Like, they have the coach, the true coach, and LeBron James.
Could be Jason Kidd by that time, let's be honest.
Who also doesn't have NBA Finals experience as an NBA head coach. He does,
but he can spill that drink all over the court.
Yeah.
But I just think that with all of that, they do have an advantage for the playoffs, and that's going to be the most important thing. So I think that they can win the West if they are going full strength and if they're actually trying to win it, because they are probably the most talented and most experienced team in the Western Conference right now.
Watch Lou will this team to the number 1 seed, while the rest of the guys who are injured.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't put money on it.
I would doubt it. I mean, I think a lot of people who saw the success last year of this Clippers team, and everyone wants to put that on Lou Will and Montrezl Harrell because of their carry jobs, just offensively. A lot of the unsung shit goes back to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, who was shooting lights out. That's all that guy ever does. He was so huge for them. Like, those are 2 big pieces that they lost out on. So if you're not going to have the star playing who you traded them for, then that's just a net negative for this team. And I think people may be overlooking that. That's why I'm not as, Lou Will and Montrezl Harrell and the rest of the bench unit can carry this team even without Paul and Kawhi out there. I don't buy that.
Yeah, and I think some people might make the argument, too, that, the Spurs have a ton of playoff experience because of Pop. 100%, but I think player-wise they don't have that, at least when it comes to guys who have
turned everybody over.
Yeah, has gone to finals. I think the only player that I can think of off the top of my head would be Patty Mills. But outside of that, Duncan's gone, Ginobili's gone, Parker's gone. Even some of the other players that were even there that weren't a part of the main core, I think most of them are gone as well. So I would say that when it comes to playoff experience, the Clippers are in the best situation, and that's why I think they can and they have the talent.
James.
Yeah.
But he's one guy, and Danny Green's the other guy.
Rajon Rondo.
Okay, but
That team-
then we talk about the coach, and again, it
and
goes back to Frank
Quinn
Vogel.
Cook. I'm just saying they have a lot of playoff experience on
And
the
then,
Lakers.
but then I
Bradley.
said when it goes to
Avery Bradley.
But then when I says it goes, what was
He was not in the finals, but he was a playoff.
Bradley? Yeah.
Yeah, playoff experience.
Oh, okay.
I was saying finals.
Oh, okay.
But when it goes,
He was one game away.
But when it goes to the,
He
you know,
wasn't. He was on the Tulsa.
when it goes to the coach, like I said, they have Frank Vogel, who hasn't been to a finals as an NBA coach, and then if you want to say Jason Kidd, also hasn't gone to the NBA finals.
Still,
So I'm just
right?
saying they have the
Didn't
best
he go
blend.
as a player though?
Yeah, 2002.
Yeah.
I said that earlier, like 5
Okay.
minutes ago. Thanks for listening.
We've looped.
I'm just saying, though, as a coach, like Ricky brought that up.
Yeah.
Rivers won a championship. Kawhi obviously has won a championship. They have that perfect blend of coach and player. And
I would
some depth
argue
pieces as
Rondo
well.
and LeBron James are as much coach as player.
Anyways, when it comes to them winning the West, though, I think they have the talent to, is what I want to say, but I don't think they will because of the way that they're going to attack the regular season. How do you think
Also,
they
Dwight Howard. I forgot he had
Yep.
finals experience too.
He does.
The Lakers
Getting
are
swept in-
loaded.
Where's
Swept in
Paul
the finals.
Gasol? We should just mention the Trailblazers then, too.
Yeah, obviously.
Oh, my God.
Obviously.
Someone find
Rodney Hood.
Mikal Pietrus. Where's Mikal Pietrus? Peja. Where's Peja? Let's just get the Orlando Magic together.
Turkaloo.
Where's Stan Van?
Turkaloo.
Where's Stan Van's a real good question.
Isn't
Where's
he
Jeff Van?
ESPN?
Let's get to how they should attack the Western Conference this year and how they should attack possibly getting the number 1 seed. What is their goal this year in the regular season? How should they go about attacking this season, Dave?
Load management. That's their goal. Everybody's healthy come playoff time. That's all that matters for this team. They can drag themselves into the playoffs being seed 1 through 8. It doesn't matter a lick for this team.
So it's a LeBron James situation. Like
Absolutely.
When we were talking about when he
Yes.
was on Cleveland, 1 through 8, and they ended up being 4, and they went to the finals.
Absolutely.
Who can
This is
LeBron
a
James
team-
better, LeBron James or the Clippers?
Kawhi Leonard would be the ultimate mercenary. I'm just saying, like if Kawhi Leonard wins on the Spurs,
Raptors, Clippers.
wins on the Raptors, and wins on the Clippers, oh my God, that man has a fucking legacy that's hard to touch for 99.9% of the NBA. I mean, I'm just saying, it's pretty impressive. But no, I mean, seriously, this team has one job, and that's to get to the playoffs healthy. Like outside of that, it doesn't really matter because they're good enough to make the playoffs. Giving these guys resting days, like the DNPs. I know the schedule for the NBA has changed again. It's funny that we had a back-to-back in the preseason, and the players made such a stink about it during the regular season. The NBA is just like, we're gonna give you the shaft in the preseason. Then like,
None of the
what?
big stars are playing in the
No, they did.
I mean,
but
that's,
they rested, like the Mavs rested Luka
Yeah.
and KP because like, well, here's your first chance to see them. Nah,
Like-
you gave me a back-to-back.
and when
I'm
I say
waiting.
that, I mean with the Clippers, where it's like you look at their ESPN page, they're like, Kawhi Leonard's not playing in this game. So and so's not playing in this game. Like it's not like the Bulls versus the Pelicans, where it was like that was kind of like a regular season
It
game.
absolutely was. We thrashed them starter on starter and second unit on second unit.
They got lucky.
No, their third unit's better than Cristiano Felicio.
Yeah,
That's all
good
it
point.
takes. Back on point. Thanks for bringing the Bulls into this topic that was
Homer.
sorely needed. Put that shit on the super fans.
I didn't even talk good about it. I just said it
Nope.
was like a regular season
Nope.
game.
Point being, be healthy. DNP them. Give them each 60 games. They'll be a playoff team. They're going to be scary as hell in the playoffs. They don't really have a home court advantage, like you said earlier when we were joking about the Lakers. Like the Clippers fans, there are some diehard Clipper fans. That's great. You've been amazing to put up with a team that's been through so little success over the years. But the majority of that city is Laker. Like, you can't even convince me that it's like, it's 80-20.
And those Clipper
Yeah,
fans are just Laker fans that don't want to watch the Lakers. Right now.
Dang.
I'm gonna
I
ignore
joke,
that.
I joke.
I'm gonna ignore that joke.
Kid.
I'm gonna ignore that joke. But I think the only way they don't have a actual home court advantage though is
Laker
when
Laker
they play
Clipper.
Laker Clipper. Because we've seen before that when the Clippers have gone to the playoffs, they've had support in the Staples Center.
I mean, support's one thing, but like a true home court advantage in the NBA, like
Who has that though?
the Nuggets.
Yeah, I mean,
I think the Lakers
The
have it.
Thun-
I think
the-
the Boston Celtics have it. I would argue that
The Thunder
I would
had
argue
it.
there's several teams. Yeah,
The Thunder
there are
had it.
several
The Heat
teams
probably
where
had it.
being home matters more to them, and the Spurs absolutely. But like, there's so much to it, and I feel like
you
the
could
Clippers
put the Spurs
don't
on a boat and they win.
Yeah, didn't they? Wasn't there a game like a college game?
NCAA,
Yeah.
and the aircraft carrier was Michigan State, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Had to be incredibly weird.
It was. That's what the players were saying. But do the Clippers need their own? I know they're talking about building their own stadium. Do they need their own stadium? Let the Lakers have
No.
the Staples Center, and the Clippers get a brand new stadium.
No. Steve Ballmer just would be stretching the ego.
I'm gonna look. It wasn't Inglewood. I think it was Inglewood is where they're looking at.
Yeah. I mean,
I saw the
forum's there right now. I don't know if they'd move into the Forum because I don't think the Forum's been used for basketball in a very long time.
Clippers' new Inglewood Arena. If everything goes to according to Ballmer's plan, the Clippers will be playing in a brand new 18.5 seat arena in 2024.
18.5 what?
Thousand. 18
Yeah.
and a
the
half.
mock-ups are amazing looking. Don't get me wrong. I would love that. But
It almost looks like looking at the pictures. It reminds me of like what the fucking.
it looks like the Olympics stadium.
That, but kind of what like the Rams are trying to do also, except for the Clipper logo and the fucking roof.
Ah, interesting.
All right. Anyways, getting back to the Clippers actual in 2019-2020, although that is interesting. What Hollander does predict, and this is what I want to get from you guys, is what your prediction will be. He predicts 53-29, first in the Pacific and second in the Western Conference. Do you think that is
53 is second in the West?
Yeah.
They are going to cannibalize each other out there is what he thinks. Wow.
He does.
I mean, 53 last year was third and fourth because you had the Warriors at 57 and the Nuggets at 54.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
interesting.
his pick I don't think has been released yet because he has the team in the Northwest being the Nuggets 52-30, third in the Western Conference, and I don't think his final division preview has been released yet. So going to be interesting to obviously see where he thinks that they, who ends up being number one seed. I think that leaves the Southwest, if I'm remembering my standings correctly. So I'm just trying to think of which team that possibly could be that he has number one in the Western Conference. If it's not the Nuggets, it's not the Clippers.
Houston.
It could be Houston. Yeah. Teams that it could be would be Houston, San Antonio, Memphis, New Orleans, or Dallas, and Houston's probably the one that makes the most logical sense.
He's on my boat. He listened to us when I talked, and he's like, man, that's Dave guy.
John Hollinger, who created Purr, is going to listen to you.
Yeah.
That is what he's basing all of this off of.
Johnny
Not all
boy,
the
thanks for listening.
Extreme
Appreciate it.
analytics that put him into an
the listen.
NBA front office.
Thanks for the sub.
Thanks for the sub.
Where do you guys have the Clippers finishing?
I'll go with they'll shoot for second, but either be second or third. I don't totally agree with Dave. I don't think they can be an 8 seed and roll to the finals. I think that 2-3 is probably where they'll fall. Like that's where they'll be. They'll be the second or the third in the West.
What did I put for my season predictions?
You put them at 2.
Then I
because
say
Sean put them at 3 and I put them at 1.
Then I'm gonna stick with my season prediction and put them at 2.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my season prediction mainly because I think the Paul George injury is not only going to be difficult to deal with in the first month that he's going to be out, I think it's also going to be hard with him. I don't think he's going to be full strength pretty much coming back from that injury right away. I think when it hits April, he's going to be fine for playoff basketball when it actually matters for them. It's going to be he's going to be fine for the actual playoffs. And I think resting Kawhi.
Didn't Kawhi come out and actually say like he's like fully healthy for the first time in a long time right now?
That's what everyone says.
But no, I mean like
first time, long time.
Yeah, first time, long time. No,
no.
Trying to get you there.
I don't think it matters too much that he's saying that though.
Because he had been talking about how it's just a lingering injury and it stuck with him. So the fact that he's had this off season and he feels confident in his body again, that could mean less DNPs.
But what if he tweaks it like first game? Like, I mean, how much of a lingering injury is it that maybe it just fades away and then immediately once he starts picking up game action, he tweaks it again.
It's entirely possible, but I mean, like at least he's publicly talking about it. It's not like a situation where we're like he thinks he's still hurt, but we won't get any official word because the Spurs organization
and what's his uncle saying?
What's his uncle saying? And then he goes to the Raptors, and it's like, yeah, he publicly was like, yeah, no, there's something fucked up in my leg. Like, got to work on this shit. And took the rest he needed, and then he played hurt through the playoffs, which hell of impressive performance, if you ask me. But no, the fact he's talking about him being fully healthy in the first time, long time, I'm thrilled, and I think that he's going to get in his games. He's going to be a monster in the West. I still think second seed, 2 through 4 is probably most likely though. Mm-hmm. I'll give the wiggle room. If they came out and played every game, then they absolutely could be the 1. But what would their condition be like in the playoffs then?
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for the. Or did you talk
Yeah,
about?
he did.
Okay, all right. That's gonna do it for the Fast Break podcast. We delved into a ton of different,
We explored some new
conversations.
avenues.
Hit up China, hit up the Sixers, and hit up the Clippers.
Also, don't forget to join the Fantasy Basketball League. Link down below in the description. Forgot to. We'll probably, retroing this.
Promo at the start.
We'll probably record a segment to go somewhere in the podcast, so we get that, but I'll mention it here at the end.
All right, cool.
Join the Fantasy Basketball League.
It's always been fun, and I can't wait for you guys to be a part of that as well. So
We'll have a
definitely
live
hit that up
stream for the draft as well.
down below. Yes, and I believe Josh Gordon just broke his leg for the Patriots, so I'm super pumped about that. So
But
we're
Brandon
going to end
Bolden
this
got the
podcast.
touchdown.
That's not what I care about. Pretty sure
Antonio
he broke
Brown's
his leg,
coming back.
and I can't wait. Oh God, you definitely want to end the podcast.
He said he could earn his dollars.
Definitely want to end this
He
podcast
asked the
now.
Patriots to earn his dollars.
Your
Josh
mic's
Gordon gets
off.
hurt, so that means that he's coming
Mic's
back.
off. Thank you for listening to the Fast Break podcast. We appreciate you listening, and that's going to do it. Join us at patreon.com/mostpodcast. We'll see you next
The
week.
return of Antonio Brown.